when the travel ban happened, that people call the Muslim travel ban that affected several countries, particularly Iran, part of the recommendation and the requirements that were made was that every country who wants to get a tourist visa to the United States has to do information sharing with the United States. And this caused all these countries in the world, obviously Australia, Europe and stuff already share everything, but all these other countries have to open up and share information about their citizens to come here. Now, probably some big, powerful countries like China push back and are not giving it, but some other countries, like Nigeria was an example, bent over backward and said, oh, you put us on trial ban, we'll give you what you need. And so that's why you got to know that they're going to share this information. It's not like back in the days where you could get away with murder, no one find out. Everything is digital. Everything's being tracked. We're in this 1984, Orwellian kind of scary system. It is what it is. We have no control over it. But just know that, this stuff comes back at you. And even, social media stuff, things you post on social media could come. I remember having a client, we were going through adjustment status. Everything was good. And then I looked up her Instagram, and she's doing drugs all over Instagram. All these pictures of her doing drugs. I'm like, who would do something like that? It's really stupid. But I said, listen, you're doing drugs, and you have a health issue. It's going to lead to a denial, needing a waiver, all this kind of stuff. And so when we had to deal with that and get a psychology report that, or AA and all this stuff, that she got better. Go ahead, Ani.
Right. Another thing that I wanted to mention regarding criminal records. A lot of people think that if it's been like 20 years ago, right, or the criminal records were sealed, expunged, or closed, or all these other words, right? For immigration, U.S. immigration law purposes, everything counts. Yeah. It's not necessarily will ban you from immigrating or from entering the United States or even from getting a visa, right? But you have to provide all this information.
Yeah, I'm so glad you mentioned that. It wasn't one of our talking points, but we have people come in, they're in the U.S., and there might be a student visa, say, well, we did this crime, but we got it expunged, so it's not on the record. And that might be the case where if you're going to apply for a job, you don't have to mention that kind of stuff. But immigration does not recognize expungements or clearances. You have to say everything no matter what. And this expungement become a problem because many times they'll destroy the documents. And then when they come to us, we say, well, USCIS and State Department want to see a certified copy original of the conviction record, what it was. And they'll say, well, they deleted the file. It's been expunged. Doesn't exist anymore. That becomes a problem because we can't move forward. They have to try to reopen the case, get proof from the court what it is. Creates a lot of work, and we don't know whether it's going to work at that point. It's going to be up to the discretion of the immigration officer. So these are really serious things to have the paperwork, all of it ready. And, if you're coming into a consultation, having it ready so you get a no from beforehand is going to be key. It just speeds things up. But there's no hiding anything. Always be under the assumption that they know everything. And they're just, sometimes people say, well, like for taxes, for example, we have to send tax returns as part of adjustment of status or, after they support. And they're like, well, can't they just ask the IRS? Like, no, they put everything on you. Even if they have access, they're not going to do the extra work. You have to do it. And if they ask for something, you don't have it, they're not going to look. They're just going to deny you. There's no skin off their back. They're happy to do it. It's less work for them. They deny your case. They don't have to do extra work. So why? It's all good. So it's preparation is so key. And I feel like it's such a sad thing we're talking about. But the reality is we just see this all the time, these kind of stuff. And it hurts us. Like when someone comes in happy, they're married, for example, or they want to start a company. And then we're digging into it. Things are good. And then we hit a wall with this kind of stuff. It really makes us sad. It breaks our heart. It's an emotional toll. We feel really close to our clients, like family. With one case, Anya, this morning we were talking. Anya, you're about to cry. You're so sad because this couple is going to be separated, and you were talking with them. It just broke your heart, and it really does break your heart because these are real people that we're dealing with. It's not one of those things like we're corporate attorneys where we're suing somebody. Even then, we care about the clients, but it's not corporations or something like that. These are real people whose real lives are being affected. Their children, their spouses. It's really a devastating kind of thing.
Yes, when you realize that your clients were waiting for already like year and a half for ordinary 130 position to get approved and it's just not being approved, and there is something there, right? Mm-hmm. And then you realize, you start to dig more that waiver is required for this case, and there is no guarantee that it's going to be approved. The waivers are really, really hard to get. Waivers, it's a petition asking U.S. government to forgive certain violations, like, for example, lies on previous application, or misrepresentation, or criminal convictions, something like that. And it's really, really hard to get. And when you realize that it's going to take like 2 or 3 more years, and there is no guarantee that it's going to be approved and that the person will make it to the United States. It's very sad.
I mean, just the timeline. Let's say even they have a good waiver case and they have the money for it, which costs a lot of money to do. Like if you do the I-130 gets approved, you got to wait for an embassy interview, which right now is taking forever to get. But let's say you get the interview, you get denied expectedly, and then you could file the waiver if you're doing consular processing. Waivers are taking 601 waivers taking over a year right now. And once it's approved, you have to try to get another interview and do that. And hopefully the officer won't find another issue, won't have another problem. And so automatically it's baked in the cake years. And, you know, life is short. We have kids. We're getting older. As you get older, you realize time goes by really fast. And so it's like, oh, man, I'm just sitting here in my country. You know, the U.S. spouse can maybe come and visit in the meantime, but that's a lot of money, travel costs. They have work. It's just not easy thing to do. So it is a devastating thing, but it could be helped by planning. At least, very least, we could plan it out so we lessen this amount of time, or we just know what works and what doesn't, so these people can make life plans accordingly. I've had clients say, you know what, we're just going to move out of the United States and live in the foreign country because it's too much of a headache, or we'll just move out and do the process and we'll live with them until it's done. But at least they know ahead of time is less surprises are going to happen. So these are just important things we want to get out there. And so immigration talks about, it's really to get people eyes open about the seriousness of U.S. immigration and how it affects your individual lives.
Yes. So please take it seriously. If you file for a U.S. visa, take it seriously. It's not just a piece of paper, you know, just to file it and forget about it. No, it's going to follow you till the rest of your life. If if later on you decide to immigrate. You know, a lot of times the cases we see that, for example, person were to the United States a couple of times, they had like 3 visas or 5 S's, right? Mm-hmm. And through all these 5 S's, the information was not correct.
Yeah,
it was listed there, right? And it's really hard to get with it later on and deal with it later on.
Don't hire us for the ESTA. And it's been one particular case where you spotted issues. You said, listen, to the client, let's do screen share. We'll walk through the ESTA together. And they're just answering no to all the stuff they're supposed to be answering yes to. And you're like, wait, what are you doing? This and this. And so people don't hire lawyers for this because it seems insignificant. Most people do it with no problem. We see this with tourist visas, student visas, ESTA. People don't hire, vast majority don't hire lawyers because many times it's not needed. Most times it's not needed. But it's just one of those things. And you know, even as a lawyer, I just set up a consultation time, sometimes hourly, and I said, listen, let's just go through this together to make sure you didn't say something bad. Because I know you're going to be okay, but my job is to avoid you from saying something bad. Because some countries, my family's from Iran. I've seen this in Iranians and many people in all across Asia, Africa. I'd have to narrow in on any particular culture, but they're so used to their home countries to hide information because it's always used against them that even stuff that's not important, they'll lie about or not talk about. Even stuff that they say will have no bearing. But they're so used to being secretive about information because their governments crack down so much that they, for no reason, get themselves into trouble. There's stuff that they said was no problem, was problematic. I mean, we had an adjustment of status case. A person came to us that was denied, and they had married a U.S. citizen. Their unauthorized employment, working without permission, is not an issue as long as they don't claim to be a U.S. citizen and get a job. But out of fear that, and they don't know the rules that this was the case, out of fear that the case would be denied, they lied and said, no, we didn't work in the U.S. without permission, even though they were here for 15 years after their visa expired. And so they came to refile the case, and we said, listen, this time we have to tell them, because obviously you were working, but then your previous application, they may say you lied. They may or may not. It's discretionary. They might just say it's not a big deal to let it go, or they may say, no, you need a waiver. But, just looking at them like, it didn't make a difference. You could have just told them that you worked authorization. This person was being paid cash, doing home stuff, cleaning houses or something like that. It was no big deal at all. You could have just said it all day and said, listen, I've been working every day, cash, no problem. And they wouldn't say nothing because it's in the regulations that if you're married to a U.S. citizen, there's always discretion and stuff, but I've never seen a case where it's denied. This is something that they don't care about. But because they didn't know, they lied, and that lie, follows them and creates a lot more work and gets to that waiver stuff. So it's a mess. But
yes,
really want
to final point about that. Please be truthful. And if for some reason you think if you're being truthful and it might hurt you, talk to an immigration attorney, because most times it will not be the case. Yeah, sometimes it will be the case. Yeah, sometimes it will not be the case. Like John just mentioned about the unauthorized employment for spouses of U.S. citizens, right? It's not a violation. It's not going to hurt your case. Again, it's discretionary, but most likely.
Yeah, I
right?
mean, it's rare unless you claim to be a U.S. citizen on I-9 form, and even it just goes up. But if you're not sure, just contact immigration, talk with them, and get the rules. Contact several people via different opinions, because different lawyers will tell you different things. And sometimes they'll say opposite things, and they're both correct. That's how weird immigration is. But if you're interested in schedule a consultation, just email us at info@jqqlaw.com. If you're watching the video, it's listed under my video. But info@jqqlaw.com, and we'll schedule a time to talk about it and see what's going on.